Here's something that might change the way you think about your breakfast. The food sitting in your pantry right now, the one labeled heart healthy, the one many people switch to when trying to eat better, may affect your blood sugar in ways that aren't always clearly explained. And I'm not talking about obvious junk food. I'm talking about whole grains. Before you click away, stay with me for a moment because this isn't about fear or confusion. It's about understanding how your body responds to different foods so you can make better decisions for yourself and your family. When nutrition guidelines refer to whole grains, they mean grains that still contain the bran, germ, and endosperm, the three main parts of the grain. Because of this structure, whole grains are often considered a better option than refined grains, and in many cases, they can absolutely be part of a balanced diet. But here's the important part. Not all whole grain foods behave the same way in your body. The way they are processed and how you eat them can make a big difference. Let's take a simple example: whole wheat bread. Most people assume that because it says whole wheat, it will digest slowly. But what often gets overlooked is how that bread is made. When grains are ground into flour, even whole wheat flour, the structure of the grain changes completely. Instead of a dense kernel, you now have very fine particles. And those particles are much easier for your digestive system to break down, which means digestion can happen faster than many people expect. So what happens next? When these carbohydrates are digested, they are broken down into glucose, which enters your bloodstream. For some people, especially depending on portion size and context, this can lead to a noticeable rise in blood sugar. Now here's something important to understand. Not everyone responds the same way. Some people may handle whole grains very well. Others may notice energy dips, hunger soon after eating, or fluctuations in focus. And this is where personalization becomes important. When blood sugar rises, your body releases insulin to help bring it back to normal. Insulin is a key hormone that helps regulate how your body stores and uses energy. When insulin levels rise occasionally, that's completely normal. But when meals repeatedly cause spikes throughout the day, breakfast, snacks, lunch, dinner, insulin levels may stay elevated for longer periods. And over time, this can influence how your body manages energy and fat storage. Think about a typical day: breakfast, whole grain cereal; snack, granola bar; lunch, whole wheat sandwich; dinner, brown rice. Individually, these choices seem healthy, but combined, they may still create repeated blood sugar rises throughout the day. And many people don't realize this. Because they're doing what they believe is the right thing. Whole grains also contain a natural compound called phytic acid. Phytic acid can bind to minerals like iron, zinc, and magnesium, which may reduce absorption in certain situations. However, this depends heavily on the overall diet. If someone eats a balanced diet with a variety of foods, this is usually not a major concern. But it's still useful to understand how different components of food interact in the body. Whole wheat also contains gluten. For people with celiac disease, gluten must be avoided completely. For others, some individuals may experience sensitivity or digestive discomfort, while many people tolerate it without issues. Again, this highlights an important point. Nutrition is not one size fits all. If we look at glycemic index values, whole grain products often score slightly lower than refined grains, but the difference is not always as large as people assume. And more importantly, glycemic index doesn't tell the full story. Because what really matters is portion size, food combinations, individual metabolism. For example, Eating bread alone versus eating it with protein and fat can create a very different response in your body. This is where preparation becomes important. Sprouted grains, fermented foods, and traditional preparation methods can change how your body responds. For example, traditional sourdough bread, when properly fermented, may be easier to digest and may produce a different metabolic response compared to highly processed bread. So it's not just what you eat, it's also how it's prepared. When we look at long-term health patterns across populations, one thing becomes clear. People who eat mostly whole, minimally processed foods tend to have better metabolic health. This includes vegetables, proteins, healthy fats, and balanced meals. Grains may be part of that diet, but they are usually not the only focus. Food labels can be helpful, but they don't always tell the full story. Words like whole grain or heart healthy can create a perception of health. But your body doesn't respond to labels. It responds to the actual food, how it's processed, how much you eat, and how your metabolism handles it. So what should you focus on? Instead of worrying about single ingredients, focus on building balanced meals. Include protein, include healthy fats, include fiber-rich vegetables, and be mindful of portion sizes. If you choose to eat grains, consider how your body responds. Pay attention to your energy, hunger, and overall well-being. One powerful approach is simple awareness. Some people choose to monitor their blood sugar using a glucometer, not as an extreme measure, but as a way to learn how their body responds. Because when you see your own data, you stop guessing. Here's the key takeaway. There is no single food that works the same way for everyone. Whole grains are not automatically bad, but they are not automatically perfect either. What matters most is how your body responds, how your meals are structured, and how consistent your habits are over time. If you want to understand how to keep your blood sugar more stable and support your metabolism, check out the next video. I break down practical food choices and simple strategies you can apply right away. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you there.